What's going on, everyone? Hope you're having a great day. So I just had a bunch of coffee, so it's time for a rant, and it's time to point you guys in the right direction. And that direction is the proper expectations to have when you're buying a cold air intake system for your car or truck. Quick background, I've literally had one or more cold air intake systems in all of the vehicles I've ever owned. The first vehicle I ever owned, the Neon, had it. Tacoma had it. All of the Tundras had it. The Jeep Wranglers had it. Everything. The FRS has it. Everything has had a cold air intake at some point. Before this was supercharged, it had just a cold air intake. Obviously, the supercharger comes with its own intake system, but we'll get to that later. So, over the years, I understand more or less what the actual expectations you should expect. Now, the problem is, first off, it's not your fault, okay? A lot of the companies out there who sell these cold air intake systems put crazy things on the box. Horsepower gains, talking about 40 to 50 horsepower gains just by adding a cold air intake. Torque numbers that are insane. It's written on a lot of these boxes I've seen over the years, and it just makes me shake my head. The things you can actually expect, pretty much the guarantees, right, is your engine bay, you'll get a little more noise out of it. You'll hear a little more noise from the cold air intake. That is a definite. At least on every one that I've ever used, it definitely helps with a little bit of noise, especially when you're on the pedal getting up to speed. You could definitely hear it, and that is one of the best things about a cold air intake. It really helps with a good sound with the engine. Number two, it helps your engine bay look a little bit cooler. If you're a person who goes to shows or whatever, or for some reason you pop your hood so everyone can see it all the time, it definitely helps the look of the engine. With Instagram and all the social media today, everyone takes pictures, I do it too, of random stuff with their vehicle, so it always helps the engine bay look good. So those are the two main things that I've had pretty much guaranteed with every cold air intake system I've ever got. Now, you hear people talk about horsepower gains and all that kind of thing. Horsepower gains, and you can't say, yes, it will help you with horsepower gains or not, okay? A cold air intake is a great part if it's part of other things. And what I mean by that, if you get yourself a cold air intake, headers, an exhaust, a dual exhaust, regular exhaust, whatever vehicle you have, and then you get the vehicle tuned, it all plays together. It's a part of a bigger picture. Now, that's when you'll start seeing some horsepower gains. But as far as just putting on a cold air intake, you're not going to get much, right? So you really shouldn't go into it expecting too much when it comes to horsepower and torque. For me, over the years, especially with the TRD intake, two things that I've noticed is a little bit better throttle response. And, you know, in the mid-range, around going second to third gear, you could feel it a little bit, you know, when the truck's getting up to speed. But that's no guarantee, you know. And the good thing about the TRD intake, like I always say, is it's built for this truck, right? It's not an intake that is made for many different applications through all of the brands. The TRD intake is built for the Tundra. So they're very honest with what they say you'll get out of it. But it's some of those aftermarket ones make these crazy claims that you're going to get 50 horsepower and all that kind of stuff. This is what I always say to people. Now, hold on. Let's talk about this first. Intakes cost $200 to $500, some even more, right? So for $500, if I pay $450, $500 and I could get 40 to 50 horsepower, why would I have just spent $7,000 to get 150 horsepower? You see, it doesn't match up. It doesn't make sense. So, you know, a good company like K&N, all right? K&N is definitely a good company, reputable company. They go and they do dyno number runs, and you get kind of a base idea of what the intake for your vehicle may get. It's never definite, and it's never guaranteed. There's too many things that come into play when you're making a run and trying to get a dyno number. Temperature, everything about everything matters, all right? So the number is never exactly the same each time. So you got to remember that, and you got to keep an open mind. Basically, point of the video is if you're going to spend your hard-earned money, I want you to know what you're getting, okay? Because I get these questions all the time about cold air intake systems. What will it do for my vehicle? Can I expect massive horsepower gains? No, that's not going to happen, okay? What you can expect is it'll look cool on your engine, and you'll get a little more sound out of the engine bay. If that's good for you, do it. For me, that's what I always liked about cold air intakes. They've always been one of the first things I've ever done. I'm a big fan of a little bit of noise, okay? I don't want it to be crazy loud or stupid or anything like that. I just like a good amount of noise. You know, I want to hear what I've paid for, okay? And that's kind of why I do it. And I definitely like the look of them for sure, and it's always fun to install. I've installed so many on my vehicles, on other people's vehicles. You know, it's pretty easy to install, but you be the judge. So what I would like to know in the comments below is, are you in the market for a cold air intake? Do you feel they're stupid? I hear that a lot too. A lot of people say it's a waste of money. In modern engines and modern vehicles nowadays, it's pretty much a cold air system, which the Tundra is into the fender wall, away from the engine, away from the hot air. It's pretty much a cold air intake system, sort of. A cold air intake system is a lot less restrictive, and you can kind of see that in the piping as it goes, you know, to the engine and everything. But overall, again, those horsepower gains a lot of times don't match up to what the box says. But yeah, let me know what you think about cold air intakes. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to help. Twitter and Instagram at tundra34, tundra34@gmail.com. You guys have a great day.